It's pretty much official now. Hillary Clinton will be the nominee for the Democratic Party, making her the first female to ever run for president of the United States of America and the first female president nominee. And the numbers, according to the time when this was recorded, are as the following. The pledged delegates for Clinton is 2,184. For Sanders, it is 1,804. For superdelegates, it's 571 for Clinton and 48 for Sanders. It should be noted that not all of them are in yet, but it seems extremely unlikely, if not borderline impossible, for Sanders to win at this point. However, many of his people are still holding on to the faith, and he himself said that, he's still going to continue. Now, what propelled Clinton into this position right now is the last night's primaries, California, New Jersey, South Dakota, and New Mexico, where she got very important wins over Sanders. However, as I had previously said, Sanders says he's not going to back down. In fact, he's going to keep fighting. Next Tuesday, we continue the fight in the last primary in Washington, D.C. We are going to fight hard to win the primary in Washington, D.C., and then we take our fight for social, economic, racial, and environmental justice to Philadelphia. I am pretty good at arithmetic, and I know that the fight in front of us is a very, very steep fight. Well, at least the man certainly still has his spirit, as do many of his supporters, so a lot of them have lost a lot of hope, given this is, frankly, a very terrible, destructive loss. Now, immediately after gaining the nomination, Hillary Clinton immediately went on the offensive and started attacking Donald Trump. It seems as though she wants to immediately cement her position against the man, rather than perhaps a lot of the dialogue going on about it being caught up about her and Sanders and the accusations of miscounting, voter fraud, and other things that have been going on. So very clearly she wants to very quickly change the tone from her versus Sanders to her versus Donald Trump, which is looking like what it's going to be at this point. Now, one of the things that really propelled her into this position was the fact that she had a lot of great grassroots organization. Now, Bernie had a lot of grassroots support, but the grassroots organization done by her campaign were far more professional at collecting support, going out to gay communities, Native American reservations, going to a lot of pro-gun control type people. And this was organized very, very well, far better than it was for Sanders, despite the fact, as I said, he had more grassroots actual support. Now, I think it's really cool here that Bernie has never explicitly turned down any offer to be Clinton's vice president, because, frankly, I think the election is going to go to Trump. I mean, in my personal opinion, given the state of affairs in America right now, a lot of people have said that if Bernie doesn't get the nomination, they're going to vote for Trump. It's a very spiteful move. If you're of the opinion that the electoral system isn't a complete fraud, more bourgeois parliamentarism, and that you really believe that the system works, then voting for Trump out of spite is really not a good idea, because you're going to get farther away from what you wanted than if you vote for Clinton. But if Clinton really was smart, she would take on Bernie Sanders as her vice president. At least in doing so, she would get a huge portion of the Bernie people who were going to vote against her and for Trump onto her side. I think it would be a really important move to make at this time, because she has ended up alienating a lot of the Bernie Sanders supporters just by virtue of her defeating him in these votes. And that would be the really correct political maneuver to take at this time. But like I said, once again, we look at all the people who are trying to vote Bernie Sanders, and a lot of them calling themselves so-called socialists, so-called Marxists, and then looking at him, and they were all up about, this is going to be it, we can do it, this is going to be the people's power change. A lot of what they said with Barack Obama, with the hope and change thing, which, didn't work. This, again, reminds us that bourgeois electoral politics does not bring revolution. I mean, we don't need this example to tell us that. All of recorded history of revolution and revolutionary science has told us that this is not how revolution comes about. The fact that we do have to remind people shows the tremendous theoretical weakness, or the weakness in terms of revolutionary potential for first world people. Because even those who had sworn up and down that they were radical leftists, a good large number of people in the now defunct New York Maoists were praising Bernie Sanders, when they most certainly should not have been doing such a thing. They should have been condemning the system for what it is. I'm not saying that they were going to vote, because they never said that, but there was a lot of very positive rhetoric coming out about them. And this is something that's very common for first world people in general. Despite their overwhelming desire, despite all their talk about how they would do revolution and that they have revolutionary potential, we saw them all jumping on the Bernie Sanders bandwagon, the free shit express that has very clearly derailed. So this just proves to us that we need to go on with revolution, not reform. And we've heard of, a number of people, not a significant number, but a number of people saying how if Bernie doesn't win, then we're going to go through revolution. We're going to start, smashing shit. If we can't get it through votes, we're going to get it through revolution. And I think their claim, boisterous as it is frankly fraudulent. They're not going to do that. The Bernie Sanders supporters are not revolutionaries. They're not going to take to the streets with guns and then, begin carrying out a guerrilla war campaign against the U.S. government. It's not going to happen. They're not aggressive, fighting revolutionary potential people. It's just not going to happen. So now we're stuck in the spot where Donald Trump is most likely going to win. That's my opinion. I feel that he is going to beat Hillary Clinton unless Hillary takes Bernie Sanders on as his vice president. Then I think she's got a decent chance at actually winning by calling more support to her side by doing so. And then there's still the very real possibility that Donald Trump could pull this off and become the next president of the United States. As it stands right now, basically, Trump is almost running completely unopposed as the Republican nominee. It's going to come down to the two of them. And then, frankly, in a lot of people's eyes, it's going to come down to Trump, the guy who nobody in their right mind would want to vote for, and Hillary, which nobody wants to vote for. And that's what I think is really significant about this election, is the people that have been presented as the tops of the parties. When we look back at everything that has gone on thus far, we see the popularity of Trump and Sanders representing something very important: the alienation of the two big parties from the people that they claim to serve. The Democratic Party has always had that veneer of, hope, where we're going to be able to change things, we're going to be able to do good, although they never do it. That kind of flavor is already there. And that's what propelled Bernie Sanders in this situation. Now, whether he did actually win the nomination or not, depending on the outcome of investigations, blah, blah, blah. The point is, that's how he got there. By that kind of spirit that the Democratic Party tries to foster. And the fact that people were siding with Bernie over Hillary shows that they've become detached at really controlling that feeling that Bernie supporters have. Now, you run over to the Republican Party, and they have done nothing but foster hatred, racism, sexism, homophobia, xenophobia, everything, since practically time immemorial. That has always been their thing. That's always been the real motivating force. Their prejudice against other people, including particularly the poor. So since this has always really been their base, they've never been overt about it. Like, they've never said straight up, we're going to kick Mexicans out of the country, we're going to stab the poor, or anything like that, even though that's what their policies basically are. But they've always downplayed that kind of hatred. So now that they have fostered it all this time, now all these people are jumping on the Trump bandwagon. Because he's coming out with that flag of a mentality that they've been fostering all this time, because they lost the control over the people that are supporting them. The Republican Party doesn't have that dictatorial control over Republican voting people, and Trump has taken them away. Both Sanders and Trump both represent something very significant in this situation, the alienation of the parties from the people that they're supposed to serve. And this is what's going to make the election very, very interesting, because as I said before, it's somebody nobody in their right mind would want versus somebody that nobody wants. So how this turns out is going to be very, very interesting. As I said, at this moment, given the way things are, I believe Trump is going to win presidency of the United States, and we're going to have a small invasion of 1 million soldiers. But Hillary Clinton could still win if she does pull Bernie Sanders on as her vice president. Frankly, she would be a fool if she didn't do. But then again, this, like all historical moments, is something that we can only understand or truly get until after it happens. It's only in the hindsight that we really learn everything it is that life throws at us in terms of lessons. But there was one that we should have known from the beginning, and that we did. But again, with the first worldist mentality they just ignored, it's that real change comes through revolution, not through reform. Thank you for watching. Why don't you go ahead, rate, comment, subscribe, and share on various social media. And if you want, you can head over to my Patreon page and show your support. Or you could head over to the MRN bookstore and check out some of the latest books available.